The film El Lugar sin Límites, directed by Arturo Ripstein, takes place in Mexico in 1977 and shows intertextuality, having been based on a novel written by José Donoso in 1966 Chile prior to the film. Individuals believe that José Donoso wrote the novel El Lugar sin Límites to express José Donoso's in-the-closet nature of his sexuality and the ridicule he believed he would face if he became open about his homosexuality as portrayed through the character Manuela. In a way, the struggle between the two characters, Pancho and Manuela, represent Donoso's internal struggle between masking his homosexuality through machismo, as Pancho does, versus being proud and open about it, as Manuela does. In addition, El Lugar sin Límites as a film depicts the struggles of various people using cross shots to capture each of their lives within the town. The film switches between the perspectives of Manuela and his daughter Japonecita, who own and run a brothel in a town in Mexico, to Don Alejo, who owns almost all of the property except for the brothel within the near-empty town. The film also depicts Manuela and Japonecita's fear of Pancho and his machismo, yet still desire him. Pancho, however, is obsessed with Manuela and feels required to put up a front to mask his homosexuality from all, especially his brother-in-law Octavio. The most prominent themes depicted in the film are one's expected gender roles and one's struggles with sexuality, both of which can be emphasized by the weaved-in symbolism and foreshadowing of the film's introduction. The introduction of the film opens up with a conversation between two extra-diegetic narrators voicing over a black screen with white text creating a dramatic effect. These narrators, Mephistopheles and Fausto, discuss the place men call hell. Fausto asks, "Tell me, where is the place that men call hell?" And Mephistopheles responds, "Under the heavens, where we are tortured and remain forever. Hell has no limits, nor is it circumscribed in oneself place, for where we are is hell." This introduction foreshadows the depiction of the lonely, tortured souls we will see followed throughout the film, who endure their own hell on a daily basis.
Primero te interrogaré acerca del infierno. Dime, ¿dónde queda el lugar que los hombres llaman infierno?
Debajo del cielo.
Sí, pero ¿en qué lugar?
En las entrañas de estos elementos, donde somos torturados y permanecemos siempre. El infierno no tiene límites, ni queda circunscrito a un solo lugar, porque el infierno es aquí donde estamos, y aquí donde es el infierno, tenemos que permanecer.
When people think of hell, they think of a place they are forced to go if they aren't eligible to get into heaven. However, what this poem points out is that hell is where we all are right now, where we are currently living. The poem suggests that this hell is right here on earth, where we are forced to face all our difficult endeavors and is a place we will be stuck in forever. That is, until death. This idea of hell and being trapped in it foreshadows the struggles we see each character go through throughout the film. For example, the struggle Manuela and Japonecita face when they can't afford to keep the brothel, Pancho constantly trying to fight off his homosexuality, Japonecita having to sell herself to men she doesn't like just to get money, and Don Alejo's secret illness and his impending death because of it. We also see the foreshadowing of Manuela's death within different conversations he has with individuals, such as Ludalina, when she tells Manuela, "You won't get to be old like me." One of the main struggles we see throughout the film is Manuela and his homosexuality, along with his dangerous affection for Pancho. Inevitably, this hell that Manuela lives in every day is what leads to his startling death. This dramatic introduction ends and we hear loud diegetic music fade in, which creates a gateway as the opening credits transition into an opening scene that uses symbolism to express the underlying themes of the movie. Throughout El Lugar sin Límites, the color red is used repeatedly. The color red can be used to represent sexuality, passion, power, anger, malice, prostitution, and love. Within the opening scene, the use of a long shot reveals Pancho's red truck. The color and size of the truck signify power and importance of the driver. This shade of red also portrays sexuality and passion. These characteristics of Pancho are shown by how Manuela's brothel is the first place he stops in his return to town. Pancho is also shown wearing a red shirt throughout most of the film. While Pancho partakes and is encouraged to interact with women, the same is not acceptable for his interactions with men, like Manuela. It is okay to be sexually free with women, however, the same cannot be said for men. In this way, Pancho's sexuality is constrained. He cannot give into his feelings for Manuela and be accepted by society, which causes feelings of frustration. Pancho's need to be masculine depicted throughout his t-shirt showing off his biceps while still adhering to societal norms suppressing his feelings for Manuela. The red shirt is a physical marker of Pancho's sexuality and rage. Conversely, Manuela's dress represents his liberated passions and sexualities. Manuela's liberations from societal expectations allows him to fully embrace who he is without shame while still hoping for acceptance. The red dress serves as a direct contrast between Pancho and Manuela, especially in the choices they have each made. In this film, we can see a sort of reversal in the typical gender roles that would be expected. Pancho seems to portray the ideals of masculinity and machismo by his threatening of Manuela and Japonesita and the constant cheating on his wife. However, this turns out to be Pancho acting how he thinks society wants him to, all the while hiding his emotions and feelings for Manuela. When he thinks no one is looking, Pancho allows himself to get caught up in his feelings, yet the minute he has a masculine audience, he goes back to pretending. An example of this can be seen depicted through a close shot, making the scene more intimate when Manuela and Pancho are dancing. While Octavio is occupied, Pancho kisses Manuela, and as soon as Octavio sees it, Pancho blames Manuela for it all and becomes hostile. Japonesita, in contrast, seems to have control over her emotions and is more dominant than many of the men in the film. While Manuela is worrying about the fact that Pancho is back in town as soon as she hears the truck, Japonesita does not seem overly concerned and tells Manuela not to worry and go back to bed. In this scene, we can see Manuela acting more typically feminine by letting her emotions take over, while Japonesita seems to be more level-headed and tries to calm Manuela down. She further shows her masculinity because the one thing she cares about is regaining the electricity in the building and making sure everyone in the house is taken care of. She puts herself in Pancho's way in order to save Manuela and even comforts Pancho when she finds him crying despite him previously threatening her. The most notable switch in gender roles can be seen through another close shot during the flashback when Japonesa seduces Manuela as a bet with Don Alejo. She is clearly the more dominant personality despite having the body of a woman and is showing her lack of emotions by seducing Manuela as a sort of business transaction. She even tells Manuela to think of her as the man because that would make him more comfortable. Overall, the women of this film seem to be more masculine and dominant, while the men such as Pancho and Manuela are more run by their feelings. Sexuality is a major theme that exists within the film. At the time the film was created, anything other than heterosexuality was extremely frowned upon by society. Manuela is the character that embodies what the societal view is at the time. The biggest cases of sexuality that are present in the film can be seen in the flashback that Ripstein uses to explain the backstory of the current state of affairs in the town so the viewer can understand things that may otherwise be unexplainable. A scene that shows a comparison as to what the town used to be like can be depicted through a high-angle shot looking down on the townspeople parading Don Alejo's election. This makes these individuals look vulnerable, emphasizing each individual going through their own hell. We also see many social implications Ripstein expresses through Manuela, a cross-dressing homosexual man, as she flaunts her sexuality as she dances at Don Alejo's victory party. We can see through the footage of the scene how there are long shots that show the scene of the courtyard while Manuela is doing dances, expressing her vulnerability in this situation as the men grope and try to take advantage of her. This explains the dangers of being a homosexual in this time period with the unwillingness of social acceptance for someone like Manuela. The thought is that homosexuality is morally wrong, especially in the context of the film. However, when the men harass Manuela, they show some desire toward her despite what the societal view may be about homosexuality. The men in the film, through their interaction with Manuela, display homosexual tendencies. There is also a role reversal that takes place as Japonesa in the flashback, whom has a bet with Don Alejo that she could get Manuela to have sex with her. While Manuela resists Japonesa at first, she plays the aggressor, which is the opposite of what would typically occur in a basic heterosexual relationship. Japonesa insists, "I'll be the man and you'll be the girl," which directly explains the role reversal and takes place in the film. Pancho, at the end of the film, contributes to the theme of male homosexuality as he ends up being seduced by Manuela's dance towards the end of the movie. Pancho kisses Manuela, but is cut off by Octavio, who calls him out for it. Pancho immediately changes his attitude and demeanor because he realizes he cannot be seen by his male peers as homosexual because it is not accepted in society, thus embodying the machismo ideology. The role reversal scene in El Lugar sin Límites, with the women taking a stronger position sexually as seen through Japonesa, and with the men taking a weaker, more emotional sexual role as seen through Manuela and Pancho, makes for a unique film displaying how sexuality deviates from the social norms of the time period. Here we see the final confrontation between the main characters Manuela and Pancho. In the first shot, we see Manuela running away from the red truck, chasing after him, clearly terrified. Notice the camera angle is raised above Manuela and is slowly zooming in on him, just as the truck behind him is slowly converging. This helps emphasize the fear and anxiety being felt by Manuela. By applying a high-angle shot, we get a sense of how vulnerable Manuela feels internally. It should be noted that throughout the entirety of this scene, dark lighting is used to convey the sense of helplessness and being alone. Overall, this scene is used to emphasize all of the conflicts present throughout the film. In the most obvious sense, we see the man versus man conflict of Pancho holding resentment towards Manuela and seeking to harm him. Dig a little deeper, and you see man versus society conflict in the fact that Pancho and his red truck is a symbol of what men are expected to be, while Manuela and his red dress are a symbol of what women are expected to be. And because of this, he's being chased, metaphorically speaking, by society expectations. As foreshadowed within the film's introduction, we can see each principal character's struggle with their own personal hell. Each character creates this hopeful mindset that in a way shapes who they are as they continue to deny reality. That these dreams are a facade. Japonesita continues to believe that the electricity will return, and Manuela hopes for acceptance that will never arrive, eventually dying for her homosexuality at the hands of Pancho and Octavio. Meanwhile, Pancho is entrapped in a relationship he doesn't truly want, as he longs for Manuela, and we see Don Alejo's dream of possessing the town crumble, seeing as his imminent death approaches due to sickness. In the end, no one has truly achieved their wishes and found happiness.